For centuries, this story was ignored. Not because it wasn't true, but because it didn't fit the record we were taught to believe. We were sold a narrative of shadows and suffering, but the reality was forged in the sun. Tonight, we uncover one of history's most overlooked truths, and why the real architects of the ancient world were quietly replaced by a myth of oppression. Welcome to the Hidden Chronicle. Tonight, they were not built by slaves. In the early centuries of the ancient world, long before modern borders or global commerce existed, a civilization emerged along the banks of the Nile that defied the limits of human capability. This was the Old Kingdom of Egypt. It was a culture governed by the principle of Ma'at, a belief in cosmic balance and communal duty. To the people of this time, the monument rising from the sand wasn't just a tomb, it was a focal point for the entire nation. It was a project that required the mobilization of an entire society, decades before the invention of the wheel. But to understand how they did it, we must first look at the story we've been told for 2,000 years. According to official records popularized by the Greek historian Herodotus, the Great Pyramid was the work of 100,000 oppressed souls, laboring under the cruelty of a tyrannical pharaoh. This version of history suggests that these structures are monuments to ego, built through the mass suffering of a captive workforce. This story is so ingrained in our culture that it has become the accepted explanation in films and early textbooks. We present it respectfully because it was the only record we had for a long time, until the desert began to speak. But as modern technology met ancient stone, some historians began to note inconsistencies. Records appear incomplete when we look only at the pyramids themselves. If this was a site of mass oppression, where were the shackles? Where were the mass graves of the overworked? Some historians note that what is missing is just as important as what's there. Instead of signs of rebellion, we found fills, crews of workers who left their own names behind in red ochre paint. One group called themselves the Drunks of Menkaure. Another, the Friends of Khufu. These are not the names of slaves. These are the names of teams. Buried in lesser-known sites just south of the Sphinx is a very different version of events. In the 1990s, archaeologists uncovered a lost city of the workers. This wasn't a temporary camp, it was a thriving urban center. Within these ruins, they found bakeries capable of producing thousands of loaves of bread daily. They found the remains of cattle and sheep, high-protein meat that was a luxury in the ancient world. Most tellingly, they found an infirmary. Skeletal remains show workers who underwent successful bone setting and even brain surgery. In a world of forced labor, you do not provide expensive medical care to the disposable. You provide it to those whose skill is indispensable. One theory suggests a very different social contract. Some believe the construction was a form of national service. During the 3 months of the year when the Nile flooded the fields, farmers couldn't work their land. According to oral traditions, they didn't come to Giza in chains, they came as a religious duty. By participating in the pharaoh's project, they believed they were securing the cosmic order of the entire kingdom. It was a project of national pride, a way for a fragmented people to become a single, unified civilization. They weren't building a tomb, they were building the identity of Egypt itself. Why was this reality hidden for so long? History is often written by those who survive, and those who rule. For later empires, the idea that a free people could be so perfectly organized was almost more threatening than the idea of slavery. Political control often relies on the narrative that greatness requires force. By admitting the pyramids were built by a willing, well-fed, and respected workforce, we have to admit that ancient societies were more socially advanced than we often care to acknowledge. It challenges our modern sense of superiority. This discovery matters because what we forget shapes what we become. When we view the pyramids as a product of slavery, we see a monument to tyranny. When we see them as a product of organized labor, we see a monument to human cooperation. It teaches us that the greatest achievements in history didn't come from the crack of a whip, but from a shared vision and a massive infrastructure of care. It changes our definition of what humanity can do when we work toward a singular goal. Perhaps the real mystery isn't what was hidden, but what we stopped questioning. The builders left us their bakeries, their tools, and their names. They have been waiting 4,000 years for us to stop calling them captives and start calling them masters of their craft. If you value history beyond the surface, subscribe to the Hidden Chronicles.